Days to go until the U.S. presidential election, and the question many are asking is, will Joe Biden suffer the fate of Hillary Clinton and polls got it all wrong? Here are 4 indications that 2020 is unlikely to be a repeat of 2016. Indication number 1, many 2020 polls have weighted their samples. Why is that important? Well, in 2016, national polls were actually accurate in showing Clinton having a 3-point lead over Trump. She won the popular vote by 2 points. It was the electoral college vote that cost her the election. And that happened because most state polls, especially those in the Midwestern swing states, surveyed too many college graduates and too few white people without a college degree. The former were more likely to support Clinton and the latter Trump. For example, one survey in Michigan sampled 70% of college graduates because they were more likely to respond to polls. But then on election day, that group only made up 35% of the final electorate. Since 2016, many pollsters such as Ipsos and Pew learned this lesson and weighted down college graduates and weighted up those without a college degree. NBC News and Wall Street Journal polls are even weighted by the share of respondents from urban, suburban, and rural areas to make sure that rural America, which tends to vote Republican, are fully represented this time around. And let's not forget, there was an element of luck too. Trump won the 3 crucial swing states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin by a combined total of just 77,000 votes. 77,000. That was 0.06% of the total vote cast. If not for that, Hillary Clinton could have been president. Indication number 2, early voting suggests a record turnout. Americans showed an unprecedented enthusiasm for 2020 election. As of October 28th, 73 million Americans have cast their ballot. Compare that to 50 million early voters 4 years ago. A week to go until the election, early votes already surpassed half of the total vote in 2016. Data from the U.S. Elections Project predicts a record 150 million ballots. That would be a voter turnout of 65%, the highest rate since 1908. And who are these voters supporting? Well, so far, Democrats are much more eager about early voting. In the 5 battleground states, 3 times more Democrats have voted than Republicans did, though the gap narrowed somewhat as Election Day approaches. Indication number 3, the rise of young voters in America. In this upcoming election, over a third, or 37% of the electorate, will be millennials and Generation Z, according to Pew Research. And an unprecedented number of them turned out in early voting, including in crucial swing states. For example, in Florida, 6 times more young people voted than 4 years ago, and in North Carolina and Michigan, that number is 10 times and 20 times higher. Most polls, including one done by Harvard University in late October, showed that Joe Biden leads Donald Trump 63 to 25% among these young voters. Indication number 4, there are probably less shy Trump voters. If a person has not made up his or her mind at the time of polling and goes to poll on election day, they will not be captured by the polls. There were a large number of them in 2016, which were also known as shy Trump voters. That's another reason why polls were off in 2016. The Trump campaign still argues that this year there are still many hidden Trump supporters, but this time it could be a bit different. In 2016, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were among the least popular candidates in the history of the U.S. presidential election. Many voters put up making a decision for as long as possible. Biden, however, is not as disliked as Clinton was. Clinton had a net favorability rating of minus 12.6%. This time, Biden has a net favorability rating of just minus 1.6%. Clinton had been a controversial politician for decades and was loathed by conservatives. By contrast, Biden is a 78-year-old white man with a reputation as a moderate Democrat, making him a less disliked figure. Having said all these, we need to acknowledge that independent voters who are not registered with any political party can be the wild card, swinging the outcome. Also, a red wave of in-person voting on November the 3rd could also overcome what appears to be an early voting advantage for Democrats.